people who have a lot of collective definition, circuitry definition in their chart, they are here to share their experiences, their experiments, like I said, what works for them, what they feel, think, what they've learned with others, with the collective. They're here to externalize and bring all that out into the collective. Human design reveals who you are energetically and who you came here to be. I'm Dana, human design specialist.
And I'm Haley, the human design newbie. Listen in as we explore how leaning into your authentic self is your ultimate path to success. Welcome to the Human Design High podcast. Let's get into it.
Hey there, Haley. How you doing?
Hi, I'm
It's
good.
good to have you back.
Yes.
I realize when I do a solo episode now and then, like interview, I always come on and say, "Hey, I'm your host, Dana Phillips. Welcome back to the podcast." But whenever
Not
I'm with
here.
you, it's just like, "Hey, what's up?"
Hi.
So, in case this is your first foray into the podcast, people, I am welcome. Well, I want to welcome you 1st Thank you for listening, Human Design High podcast. I'm Dana Phillips, and you are
Haley.
Haley. We're not sure what your last name is still.
No.
What could it be? Haley.
Mystery.
Yeah. You ever going to get that worked out?
I do actually. I have an appointment the 1st of January. Well, first couple weeks.
Let's explain if they don't know. You got married over a year ago, and within, I guess, a couple months, you moved to Colorado.
Yeah.
So you
I submitted my paperwork to the Social Security Administration to change my name. I did that in like January. Then after we'd already moved out of our apartment into Presley's family's house. So then I did that in January, and then by March we had moved out here.
Sorry, my nose is
so
itchy.
I think somewhere the paperwork got lost somewhere, but
you have looked it up online, and it doesn't recognize who you are because you think
when I log in to the Social Security Administration, it is with grooms. So, but in this coming January, one of the first weeks, I got an appointment with the Colorado DMV to get a license. Try that.
And you need to register to vote in Colorado.
Yes.
Which is, yesterday, Lakeland wanted to go to the DMV because she changed her address with the DMV to our address since she's been living here for a year or so, and which is important when you vote as well. If you happen to live in a state, which most of them are, they want to, have the photo ID that's also supposed to have you got to have your address somewhere on there if you don't have a registration card, I think. But anyways, so we were going to go do that yesterday. Well, she'd actually already done it at the DMV, and the machine was down. They couldn't print her a new one. So they said, oh, just it's online. Don't worry about it. So she wanted to go to the DMV to have one printed. And then I thought, surely you can do this online. And so I did. I looked her up online, and it had her address in there and everything. And you could just, pay them $10. They'll send her another one. She's got to deal with her unflattering photo of being 17 or whenever when she got it, which is a cute photo, but she doesn't like it. But it also says, hey, do you want to register to vote too? And I was like, yes, you do. You're going to register to vote. Be a citizen of the United States, people, and vote whichever way you want to vote. But just do it.
They do say that it can be more important for change to vote for your local representatives. Like it can have a bigger impact voting for your local representatives than the bigger people.
It absolutely can. I mean, those are the things that affect you the most. And it's also kind of how things have gotten so crazy as they have on the federal level is because too many of us, myself included, have been sleeping on the subject, so to speak, and not really understanding the impact of local elections because
they don't advertise them very well.
Oh, I wonder why that is. Well, case in point, where I live here, it's a very Republican held area, let's just say. And up until maybe 5 years ago, I wasn't really paying attention, just going about my life as everybody else was, taking democracy and the freedoms I had, and I thought my voice was being, recorded, registered. But when I started to vote in local elections, not just national elections, I realized how often these people don't run opposed at all. There is nobody opposing them because they can't, there's nobody from a different party or a different view that is even running or even challenging them. And I thought, oh my God, like personally, I don't want to be in local politics. I'd rather support other people doing it. But it's a real eye opener to understand, like, one, how things don't change, and two, how they can get so far down the rails because just nobody's paying attention. So educate yourself. There's this is another tangent, which is interesting. What we're talking about today is collective circuitry. So this is definitely a collective.
It fits.
This is the individual here, effect, telling the collective here to freaking vote. But pretty sure if you just even Google Board of Elections in your state, it'll take you to a website that will give you all that information. There's also a website, ballotpedia.org, I believe, that has all the information about your, not only your candidates, but who your representatives are, what district you're in, what the issues are going to be. But every state has like a Board of Elections website that's going to also tell you the same kind of thing and how to vote and register. And myself, I realized I need to vote early. Democratic primaries here in South Carolina are on February 3rd. So put my bid in if you want to change. Check it out, marianne2024.com. But I got to vote early. I thought, oh my God, I can't do all this work to try and get
and then forget to vote
primaries. Forget to vote because you can only vote in your home district, but you can vote early in most places. You'll probably have to, which I'll have to go to a voting station somewhere, but I can go up to 10 days before the primary to vote. So there's no excuse, people. Get out and vote. And there you go. Do your part for America. Anyways,
let's turn this train around.
Let's do it. Okay, so as I said, that's interesting that came up because we are going to be continuing our series today on circuitry and the importance of understanding circuitry. And full disclosure here, this is a 3-part series. Hali and I recorded the first 2 parts several weeks ago.
Yeah. So if it's not the most consistent between 2 and 3, that's why.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's funny that when we do series, I always forget that there should be a continuity piece somewhere in between them of like how we explain it or why we're covering it or whatever. But really, why do you think it's important to learn about, or do you think it's important to learn about circuitry? Has it been helpful, or, what are some of your insights so far?
Yeah, I think it's helpful.
I love putting you on the spot.
It really is putting me on the spot here.
I know, I love doing it. I feel like it's like hot potato, go.
I'm like trying to think of any specific examples that come to mind on like it's helpful to know the circuitry of Presley for sure, because he is so freaking individual.
Yes, which I have listened to that episode. We determined he's about 62% of his design is individual circuitry. Yes, highly individual.
Whereas like mine is, I think, majority collective and tribal. So it has helped kind of having that overarching broader view on kind of how we would see things and interact with things.
Yeah, and most of us, as I said, most of us have a pretty good mix of them, but there are going to be, I think, people that have more individual, at times tribal, collective, just because they really, if you zoom back out and look at the totality of a chart, well, obviously, because that's going to be playing a factor in it because of what gates it's going through, what you have highlighted in your chart. But you can really see the themes of someone's chart as well when you're looking at the circuitry there, because as we discussed, the individual is obviously very individually focused, but they carry the gates in that circuit are a lot of mutative energies, a lot of knowingness. It is the energy of bringing new things in, not really knowing, because there is the knowingness in there, and sometimes you know, sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not, kind of thing, because it is this uh, energy that comes through from wherever that just creates new things. There's a pulse in the root through that gate 60 that is the kind of origination of that circuitry, which is the pulse of, mutation, transformation. And so we had the analogy of the two brothers, that one was very individual and lived by himself and didn't really care about other people. And I should have looked before we got on here because
I
I know
don't
they're Bob
remember
and
which
Tom.
brother is brother. I don't
I
remember
think
which one's which.
I know. I
Even
can't
I
either.
forgot.
And I just edited it. Now I can't. I should have picked names that were a lot different from each other. That would have been
Yeah.
easier than Bob and Tom. But brother one, the individual who lives by himself, he lives away from the tribe. He likes it that way. He's more comfortable. He's in his own process. He just does his own thing. And he's not really concerned with the whole and doesn't really care what they think. He just, wants to do his thing. And his brother comes to visit him periodically because his brother is a lot of just tribal, and he wants to make sure he's okay, he's taken care of, he's doing all right. And he might see that his brother has invented a really cool new tool that he's been using to, which I listened to, we were talking about break things or open things or crush things. Like we're talking about walnuts for some reason. Like,
I said
okay,
rocks and you into
rocks.
walnuts. Yeah.
I'm always talking about food. I do have some tribal energy. And it was a useful tool. So he asked his brother if he could, have one. And he said, sure, I can make another one. He's like, oh, cool. I'm going to take it back. And he shares it with the people back in the tribe, and they find a lot of use for it. And they all start making their owns, and they have it, their owns, their own. And that's the tribal energy of bringing something into the tribe. The individual has the effect on the tribe, and it helps the tribe take care of its people, enrich its immediate environment, that kind of thing. And then as we move into the collective, what that would look like is when he was the tribal brother, periodically, a couple times a year, meets at a council of lots of other tribes. They all come together
So
and
swap meet.
yeah, it's a swap meet. And they see, he's going to market, whatever you want to call it. And people notice from all the other tribes that he has something that they've never seen before. And what is that? And can we use it? And sure. And so they can start swapping and trading. So everybody has one. And so this one person's contribution, just in his own process, somehow it ripples out into the collective. That's a very simplistic view, but that's how the energy works. The individual energy brings forth the ideas and brings something new into the awareness. So as we start talking about collective here, it's really about this. Like we said, it is all about, hold on. It's the largest of the human design circuits. It encompasses a lot. And I think this may be where
Like
I
it
have to start sharing my
like it
screen.
actually encompasses a lot in within the body graph, you mean? Or
Yes, I'll show you real quick.
okay.
Well, real quick. I will start showing my screen.
What's the most encompassing?
So here we have the collective circuit group, obviously, as you can see. Now, when I was saying it is the largest of the circuits, it has a total of 14 channels. And it also, if you notice, encompasses every center except for the will center. So it has channels that go through.
Which I was gonna say that makes sense, but then I'm like, but the will center is very material, so I feel like it
But the
would.
will center, actually, all of its gates are tribal.
Okay. Okay.
Well, yeah, because it's the voice of the tribe.
Mhm. Okay.
Because they do consent, they do concern. It is, like you said, the material, but the material world, but it is about, well, the material world is all, here. It's all
Mhm.
people, it's your community, it's the tribe. So it's like the identity of the tribe, the um connection to something bigger, all that stuff. So
Okay. Makes
the
sense.
collective then is, as you can see it here, is consists of two subcircuits, which
Mhm.
are the understanding circuit, which is, well, let's just say it's the understanding circuit, which I have it here as the logic circuit, and the sensing circuit. So technically, it is the understanding circuit, but in my brain, it helps me when I see it and talk about it. It is more logic, makes more sense. Logic makes more sense to me. Um,
I don't think
but
I've
in the
ever
sense,
once heard you refer to it as the understanding circuit.
yeah,
It's always
it
the
doesn't.
logic
I usually
circuit.
refer to them as logic and abstract, honestly, because that's the thinking process. It starts up in
Mhm.
the head center here, logic and abstract thinking. Of course, the middle would be individual circuitry, knowingness. So that is, as you can see, I remember when I was first learning about circuitry, it it was helpful for me to see like how it's collective. It's all kind of on the outside. It's like the outside channels,
Yeah.
if that makes
Yeah.
sense. And the individual itself is like right through the middle, and then it's these
Mhm.
inner channels here. But
Yep.
anyway, so that's the overall.
It's a pleasant, not not graphic is what I'm saying, but imagery, pleasant
Mhm.
imagery. Because like the
Mhm.
collective is the most outward and it's on the
Mhm.
outside. It's very
Yeah.
satisfying.
Yeah, it is very sad. I'm sure you like it. And so these energies, they start down here, these format energies it talks about in the 5342 and the 952. There's these pulses of energy there, and moves it through the centers.
We're talking about from the root to the sacral, those
Hmm.
gates.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to remember to use
Yep.
descriptive words. And so uh, people who have a lot of collective definition, circuitry definition in their chart, they are here to share their experiences, their experiments, like I said, what works for them, what they feel, think, what they've learned, with others, with the collective. They're here to externalize and bring all that out into the collective. So it's not just, the individuals, very much just their own experience and their
Hmm.
own knowing and their own understanding, not necessarily motivated by bringing it forth to everyone else. Where if you have a lot more collective circuitry, there will be more of this pull to like feeling like you have to maybe teach or share or let everybody else know. And like I said, most of us have a pretty good mix of most of these. There might be heavy weighted one, but that's what the system needs. It needs some of
Hmm.
us to be less influenced by those around us. And we also need those that care a little bit more about everybody knowing instead of just keeping it to yourself. But also, I think we talked about this in some of the things, if you look at profile, we also understand that our profile lines show that there has to be this balance between internal and external. All the
Hmm.
profiles, all 12 of them, are a pretty good mix in one way or another of how things are internalized and also externalized and how you process things. So,
Hmm.
so basically, this circuitry creates the infrastructure here of, within the logic or the understanding circuit. It's like the ability to kind of predict the future. It is that scientific mind of what can happen, what is
Hmm.
possible, what can we do. It also has the energy here of understanding these channels on the other side, the sensing circuit, the abstract side is about the past and learning from the past and learning from experience, like creating meaning from what has happened. And so there's it's it's really interesting to me. Let's see. But basically the overall themes here are learning from experience, learning from the past so that we can make corrections, we can make something better, make something new, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's the overarching themes here. So let
Okay.
me move to my next slide. I think there's probably a better way to do this, but I don't know. Well, it was on my screen, and I
Now I
realized it
see
was
the logic
underneath.
circuit
Yeah,
collective.
yeah, that's where we sat in the logic,
Okay.
the collective
That's
circuit,
a lot of channels. I know you
understanding
said it's
circuit.
a lot, but I mean, I know you said it was 17, it's 14. I very
Mm-hmm.
much love the symmetry in this one,
I know.
in this
I
collectiveness.
always loved how at the top it starts here, but it also makes it easier to, when you have a quick look at a chart, to, see, oh, okay, you don't have to like go through the tools and figure out, and if they have, which channel is this collective, whatever. You can just look at it and be like, always know collective starts up here in gate 63
On the
or
right.
down here. And
Hmm.
I love how you just know it goes down and then it
So
switches
boop.
sides and it goes straight down to the sacral and
And
then
then it
it
goes boop.
switches again. Yeah, so there's a little zigzag there of energy.
Yeah.
And so when we look at these channels, because we've talked a lot about these gates, we've talked a lot about some of the channels, when we're looking at all the things we've been talking about over time. We know that this is the energy up here, 63, that is where, like I said, those questions start, like the, uh, I was always taught it was like when you think about the scientific process, it always has to start with a question, like what
Hmm.
could happen? What can be done? What can be learned? What can we do? And that's the thing to always remember, starting up there. And so this is this channel here, the
From the head to the
63-4,
ashna.
from the head to
Hmm.
the ajna. Sorry, very left brain thinking. There's a lot of left brain logic, and thank you, as you know, you have a lot of logic in this. And so I find that people that do have a lot of uh, channels, gates, and it doesn't have to be channels, it can just be
Hmm.
gates for you to have this circuitry, usually are more logically inclined people, more scientific approach, more numbers approach, more data, patterns, formulas, all that kind of thing. Because it is really about creating understanding by being able to recognize the patterns. Because again, if you apply it to like the scientific process,
Hmm.
what is that? It's just
I
repetition.
mean, your experiment is successful if you can repeat it. If you can
Mm-hmm.
repeat it and get the same result, that's how you know your experiment
Mm-hmm.
it works.
And you also, this is I do not have a lot of logic. I mean, I have some logical circuitry. But it is at war. It is at war within me at all times with my individual circuitry, because it does want to know and create answers. It wants to create answers all the time. I have that gate 4 up in the ajna, and which is the beginning of that circuitry, and it's always trying to provide answers.
Hmm.
It doesn't have the answers. For one, it's in the head, or it's in the ajna, so it's not going to give you answers. It just gives you more questions. And it, within myself, I recognize it as this feeling that I always have to come up with an answer, instead of
Hmm.
just like realizing, no, I don't have to. It's just there to create possibility.
Hmm.
But when I hear about, I admire scientists and people who do that work, especially I've been really fascinated lately with like people who work on, what's it called? It's not what's it called, but I mean scientists in general. I very much admire them, because it would make me freaking insane to do that kind of work. I find it
It can be very tedious.
very tedious. I mean, yeah, you went to school at first, you were thinking about being a marine biologist, it's more
Hmm.
in the lab work than anything. And
Hmm.
but the what they do is, they're always, like you said, they know if their formula or their hypothesis or whatever is valid, if they can keep repeating it and it does something. And when I think about the thousands of experience, especially when I started to say I was really interested in like physics, quantum physics, space, all that stuff, when I hear when you hear the scientists talk about how they understand certain things, or they hypothesize how time or light or space, all these things, it just, we know, we know, it just boggles our minds. When I say we know, I mean we can look at each other and be like, no,
Us two right here.
yeah, us too.
We're like fucking spaceman.
Spaceman. But as
it's incredible. Like,
yeah,
scientists, how they can understand that. Props to them, 100%.
yo, props. But okay, so it's formulating the question. It is having opinions. It is like, this is what I think could happen. This is, the arguments of like, oh, this is why it could be this way or it could be that way. There is this very much like, you need that, you need that energy flow to be there, because we have to understand the patterns in order to be able to move forward, right? Because but that's what our brains do. They want to
I love patterns.
yeah. So people with a lot of definition and the understanding sub-circuits, such as yourself, your brother has a lot too. There, you guys are here to help predict what could happen in the future and determine which things are worth experimenting with and what isn't. And through sharing your results, your experiments, you shape the way that the collective society operates. Because if you look at that 1858 down here, from that root to the sacral or root to the spleen, like you have, we know that this is that channel of judgment. It is all about refining what needs to be, corrected in order for it to become better. And that's what we're looking at. And so anyways, a lot of logical thinking in that circuitry, a lot of pattern recognition processes, rhythm. Yeah. So a lot of that there in that circuit. So really, when this circuitry in its optimal expression, which I like to go through, these are being shared from Karen Curry Parker and her explanation of circuitry. The optimal expression there would be having the ability to test and experiment with the information to understand the patterns, as we just said, and then use those patterns to predict future outcomes, in a nutshell, right? Where it can get unbalanced, this circuitry, is when you are too closely adhering to patterns and not noticing when there's like a pattern interrupt. Almost, it's kind of like tunnel vision and not seeing the possibility of something new. And then also letting fear, doubt, suspicion, which are themes in a lot of those gates there, prevent you from creating a change in the pattern, looking for something new to come through. Like, so not allowing that mutative energy from the individual to, because that's what the individual does, is bring that pattern interrupt. That's how, and the collective of the tribe, and we talked about that before, suspicious of the individual, because there is a pattern interrupt, right?
Yeah.
And because really the tribe, the collective, they really aren't that interested in change in general. It feels a little upsetting, destabilizing.
Yeah.
And so
I said yeah.
Yeah. So if it gets too myopic here, it won't be noticing when something new is coming through your circuitry. May not be noticing, hey, something's coming up and I need to make a change. But because we're talking about collective, but we're also talking about the individual that carries this circuitry,
right?
You've got to recognize that. And then so the greatest lessons challenge here, if you have a lot of the logic circuitry, is to learn that as people evolve and change, the patterns are going to evolve and change. There is going to be, in order for the collective to thrive and grow, there is going to have to be some change, and to be okay with it, to be stable within it, and also be open to change. That makes sense. That also that I see this kind of in your brother a little bit, because he has a lot of logical circuitry. That to understand, another challenge is to understand that without heart, without leading from the heart, it's all just data. It's just information. You've
Mm-hmm.
got to still remember the big picture, stay open hearted, think about the collective from a heart space and not just from data. That makes
It's
sense.
like his
So
middle name is Hart.
it is. It is. Different kind of heart. So just in a nutshell, lots of themes here with this surgery, circuitry, the need to experiment with ideas. There's pattern recognition, correcting, very rational, science and democracy. So democracy, reactive, data driven, very logical, and probably pretty skillful at whatever they pretty proficient at whatever skill they decide to develop. They're probably pretty good at it because there's that in there too. So, anyways, any questions?
Mm, is 63, is that the channel that I have that creates my definition or no?
It's no, you only have one channel, right?
I only have one channel. I have all three head gates, but only one channel.
No, you have the gate 63. Yes, the 63 is in your incarnation cross. It's your sun gate, isn't it?
I think
How
so.
do we not know this by now?
We've talked about it before.
63, 64, I believe 26, 44. Yeah. You have both of the head gates in your incarnation cross. So I feel like should I verify that? Oh
I
my
don't
god.
know.
I can't believe I can never remember that. But yeah, it's a 63
Yeah,
is your
but
head
which
gate.
channel is it that gives me my definition?
Oh,
That's what
the
I
other
was
one.
trying to ask.
The other one. The one we're going to go to
Okay,
next.
look at my segue.
Not that one. The other one. Sorry. So we'll go there then. All right. Let me
Do you want to
close
go
that.
there? Go
I'm
there?
going
Let's
there.
go there.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Okay.
So here is
Ah,
the sensing circuit,
yes.
also known as abstract circuitry.
Man, this one only has 6 on your little thing over there.
What
You're missing a
am I
channel
missing?
there. You only have
Where?
6 in your
One, two,
list.
three, four, five, six.
There should be 7.
7 and 7. Maybe it's wrong. Let's see.
1,
64,
2, 3, 4,
47, 11,
5, 6,
56,
7.
13, 33, 29, 46, 53,
29,
42.
46. That's what's missing.
No, it's right here. It's 29.
In
Oh,
your
you mean on the
list. In your
slide? On the
list.
slide. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry.
In the
I made these slides a
list.
long time ago. I'm sorry. You're right. If you are watching this on video, we have a list of all the channels here. There, I only have 6 listed here. They are highlighted on the chart, the image here, but I did not write it over here, which would be the 2946, which moves between the sacral and the G center. I apologize. See? Logical circuitry and patterns. You just you
Right
just made a
away.
living example of it right there. I'm like, huh?
You're like, what?
I
Yep.
couldn't see it.
Mhm.
That's so funny that you picked that up right away.
Yes.
Prove my point. We can go home now.
All right. Let's wrap it up.
Wrap it up. Okay, so the sensing
right.
circuit here, it is
Mhm.
what they call abstract circuitry, and it is sensing. It is about the experience. There's a lot of experiential embodied energy and also creating meaning from experience. And so it starts up here in the channel that you have that creates definition between your head and your ajna, the
Thank you.
6447, the channel of abstraction. And like I said, this is the energy here of trying to create meaning from what happened. It is the energy of like how. There's like the question what, the why is in the middle, and then how is like how did this happen? How did it,
Mm.
how did it occur? What was it about? And often when you're looking back, you're questioning why did that happen?
Mhm.
What do you have to learn from it?
And it is, for me personally, it is very interesting that that is where my definition is because I feel like why? That is my question. Why is always, because like I remember like when I would go out in the backyard and help daddy fix things,
Mm-hmm.
he'd be doing something. I'm like, why do you do that? Why does it work like this? Why is it that?
Well, let's be fair. You have all the questions.
I do have all the questions.
The what, why, the how, the who, where, when.
I got them all.
You've always been questioning, but when you think about it, you have to, ask the questions. The head is there to ask the questions in order to get that process going. And in this instance here, it is, what was the experience about? What did you learn? Because the interesting thing here, they call it abstraction in this channel. And I know we've talked about this before, probably when we were talking about the centers, the head gates, one of those things. But this is, if the other side is more concerned with the patterns and the logic and, seeing how things fit together, this information, when it comes through, there is no pattern, there is no logic, there is no rationale. It's almost like a jumble of things, a sensing
Mhm.
circuit of something, but not really knowing what it is. And it can come in as downloads sometimes, just kind of a jumbled mess all at once. And I should have said also, the logic circuit, which is on the other side of the chart, which you're looking at the chart, it starts up there in the head in ajna, and it looks like it's on the right side. But if you think about, if you are in the chart,
Like the
as you,
mirror
it's,
effect.
yeah, it's actually the left side. It's left brain, it's left eye, it's left brain thinking. And this other side is right brain thinking,
Mhm.
which is a lot of really, to me, it's experience, but it feels much more creative and artistic. And because
Mhm.
that's really the energy, it goes through that emotional solar plexus, this side does. The other side, the logic side, goes through the spleen, so it's very reactionary, and it's very like,
Mhm.
okay, you got to recognize the patterns, or else you're going to get eaten by the bear. Like, I don't walk over there near that cave because 3
Mhm.
bears live there.
Yeah, it's interesting. While you were explaining that, I just kind of had the visualization of like the left brain is like this rigid, almost like not quite a square, but just like very rigid, like walls, stiff, like
Hmm.
everything has its place. And then, but then like the other side of it, I visualize it. It's more like this. It's almost like it's a cloud, like it's very
Hmm.
like fluffy
Open
and
and flowy, and
yeah.
yeah, room for, all kinds of things there.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it is about um sensing and making sense of the past, and using your experiences, then what you have learned, to help improve society, the collective, in some way. And so people with a lot of the sensing circuit, they're here to have more of their desires, their experiences, that show them something about making the world a better place. Because when it starts down here in the root center, going over to the emotional solar plexus through the 4130, and then up to the throat through the 3536, 3536 is called transitoriness. And there's a lot of energy here of restlessness, in the shadow, restlessness, boredom, because it is all about the emotional experience. It's like when it starts here in the root, it's about having a vision of, something you want to feel or experience or do. And it connects to the 30, which is about passion. Like, what are you passionate about? What do you,
Hmm.
you want to evoke an emotion and evoke experiences in order to, like it just said, to have the experience, so that you can then share it. What have you learned with the collective? And so you can see, it's such a balance here in this circuitry, that you have to have a little bit of both in order for us to move forward. Which is also, when we talked about in the individual circuitry, that the channel in the middle, that 60/30, 63, sorry, 60-3,
Hmm.
is that something new wants to come forward, but there has to be a limitation. There has to be like a structure. You have to keep
Hmm. You
those
can't get
things
rid
from
of
the
all of it
past.
all. Get rid of all
Hmm.
of it at once.
Yeah. And so when you see this balance between sensing and logic, it's like, using that same kind, and to me, that same kind of format of like, you have the experience and the passion, you have all the stuff, but it has to be contained within also some kind of framework in order for it to make any sense.
Hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah. You gotta, it's
um
gotta be, it's a new thing, a new creation, but it has to be able to be shared in a way that people
mhm,
are ready to see.
yeah, and supported. And so I do love a lot of the themes here in this circuitry, especially the as it comes down the throat, these connections here, the throat to the G center to the sacral, because one of the I think it's this right here, the 1333, the prodigal. I just think this is a beautiful channel because it's like it's where we can create our own stories of how we want our lives to be, because and I was just talking to somebody about this earlier today about your own personal narrative. And one of the things when you hear over and over again in the law of attraction work with like Abraham Hicks is like a belief is just a thought you continue to think, and
Mhm.
how so many of us are telling ourselves these stories and beliefs all day long. We don't even realize we're doing it most of the time, of who we are, what we can expect out of life, what we're made for, what we can do, just I'm a person who, or I'm just a wife, or I'm just, just,
Mhm.
or I'm a, this happened to me in my life, so I can't do this, or I didn't go to
I c
college, so I
Yeah,
can't be this.
I can only be this because this is what I have been.
Yeah. And, or I can't change, we don't even realize a lot of times what we're saying to ourselves. And this is the energy here in this 1333. The prodigal is like, no, you have a choice to create your own narrative. The, the actual channel there is about the person, the individual, whatever the experience that they've had. They need time to process it, to understand it, so that they can then share it when they, are ready to, what they wanted to remember, or what they gained, the knowledge they had. But it's also for all of us individually. It shows us that it's possible for all of us to decide what story it is we're going to tell ourselves,
Mhm.
and what meaning we're going to give to things, because that's all what sensing is about here, is what meaning do we give to things.
Mm.
There's a lot of, this channel here, the one that's not on here, the 2946,
Which is
which
the
is the
G center
channel,
to the sacral.
yeah, which is the channel of discovery, which is very much the energy of embodiment. 29 says, yes, it's committing to the experience. The 46 is the body, it's the vitality. And it's an important lesson in that channel is one, it's sacral. So if you have that, you should be responding correctly from your sacral. But they call it the channel of succeeding where others fail and failing where others succeed. And
Mm.
it's meaning that if you enter into it correctly with a sacral response and experience, you're there not to know what's going to happen, not to see the end of it. You're there literally to have the experience, just to see what happens. And if you can go in with that lack of expectation, that's the succeeding where others fail, because you are open to the possibility of what
Mm.
the experience can show you. And it means you're literally there just for the experience, so then you can find the meaning after. You
Mm.
know what I mean? Instead of
Yeah.
thinking ahead of time that you know what's going to happen.
Mhm.
Which
Mm.
I have that channel, and I've got, it gets me into, it has not in the not fully embodied, or not in the higher vibration of it. It is a little bit of if you're not following a sacral response, it can um be the one where failing where others succeed, the other end of it.
Yeah.
That's the other side of it. I mean, where there was both of them, meaning that if you don't go in with the response, the correct response, or if you're just thinking ahead of time, you know what it's for, and so you decide with your head instead of your
Mhm.
body of what you're going to do, failing where others succeed. So basically, so again, the optimal expression here of the sensing circuit is the capacity to use that power of storytelling and personal experience to break those old patterns, and to expand the story of what's possible for yourself and
Mm.
for all of us. Um, in an unbalanced expression, it can be really to kind of stay stuck in those old experiences, maybe a little bit too much like fantastical thinking, and letting things from your past, what we were just talking about, the old stories and everything,
Mm-hmm.
set the tone and the direction for your life, that you're not thinking about expansion and possibility and, shifting. You're just staying stuck in that
Mm-hmm.
victim mode based on your experience. So basically, another challenge here, a lesson or thing to think about when you're contemplating collective surgery, not surgery, circuitry, or looking at your own chart, is to think about that creative process that we've really touched on a lot throughout our episodes of emotional energy, and using your own personal narrative to create an emotional frequency, a vibration that produces new understandings and new experiences, things that you want to occur to help evolve not just yourself but others as well.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, some keynotes just off the top of the head. Like we said, right brain thinking, there's a lot of that there. A lot of teaching and storytelling energy, very much emotional energy, sensual energy. And since it's emotional, it can take time. We know
Mm-hmm.
that that side of it is not, you know, quick, rapid fire. It moves
Mm-hmm.
at a different pace. And, very experiential energy there, not experimental, experiential.
Mm-hmm.
So that is
Yeah.
the collective surgery.
Mm-hmm.
Surgery. I couldn't say it one last time.
Circuitry.
Go ahead, say collective circuitry.
Collective circuitry.
It wants to come
Collective
out
circuitry.
surgery.
Collective circuitry.
It's
Now,
just showing me up now.
if I try to say circuitry slower, my brain can't do it.
Slurs
It's
out
just
surgery. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to
snoring.
stop sharing my screen now. And we're back.
Hello.
Hello. So, yeah, so that's our journey through the circuitry. And I do find it, I may have already said this 100 times, but I do find it very helpful to understand this about your own design, because
Mm-hmm.
it really does help you understand where it is you're designed to fit in. And I know I have the individual, I do have tribal, and let me point this out too. You can, based on so many other factors, your
Mm-hmm.
definition, like if you have split definition, all these other things, we all kind of have these juxtapositions or these tensions in us, or these conundrums, I should say, where we do feel kind of at odds within ourselves at all times. I mean, when we
Mm-hmm.
talked about growth, we talked about the channel struggle,
Mm-hmm.
that there needs to be this internal struggle. And I think that's also why we're a little mix of these things, is because I've used to worry more about why it was I didn't want to be around people, but I had no problem being around people. I want to
Mm-hmm.
be like very much to myself, but at
Mm-hmm.
the same time, I have this yearning to like have my family around me and love
Mm-hmm.
me. And, you guys are my favorite people in the whole world. The rest of the world, yeah, it's okay. I care. I do care. And I want
Mm-hmm.
everybody uh, to be on a quest for understanding themselves the way that, I mean, it's why I'm doing this whole thing, is for
Mm-hmm.
people to gain that understanding. And so it is this blend of the energies for me, but my everyday experience is self-focused and very much in my tribe with my family,
Mm-hmm.
but also motivated to share what I learn out with the world as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're all doing.
Yeah.
I don't think you have a ton of individual circuitry in your
No,
tribe.
I think which I remember when we talked about the tribal, I thought that I had more tribal than collective, but it's actually
Mm-hmm.
the opposite. Like I
Mm-hmm.
have more collective than tribal, but I feel like I I feel more tribal than collective. Like I
Mm-hmm.
care about the people, like you were saying. Like I want everyone to be happy and
Mm-hmm.
satisfied, but I feel like I am more focused on my little tribe.
Yeah. Well, for sure. I think that's where profile comes in a lot too. Not one aspect of our chart's going to explain everything. It
Mm-hmm.
is, we are a blend because, same thing. I'm a 4-1, it's self-focused and outward focused, whereas you're a 6-2, and, you're going to have that introverted, extroverted, blend there as
Mm-hmm.
well. But I think as a line 6, with that collective, circuitry, you always have, to me, felt like, yes, you are happiest with your tribe, with your small group, but you're also very concerned with how everybody should be doing things. But for the good, it's
Mm-hmm.
not that you're just, sitting around and you can see it, but you, I think, live your own experience with that in mind of how you could be better can affect how the world can be better. I think that's fair to say. Do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, I don't know, maybe. The line 2 projector says, sure. What do you think? All right. All right. We've really gone into this deep enough, I think, for now.
Mm-hmm.
Because I
Yeah.
feel like when I start repeating myself, I feel like I'm repeating myself. Maybe I'm not.
Oh,
That it's
no.
time to wrap it up. And you know how we wrap up every episode, Haley, right?
Yes. The incarnation cross of the week.
There could be no better music than that.
Like I
I
said,
could,
I apparently have to close my eyes to do it.
pure energy. You're like, yeah, get it.
Yes.
I think you're really going to like this one
Oh, okay.
because, you know, I had I had picked it, and then as I started looking at it and, looking at the meaning, I was like, oh, this is this is all a collective energy cross
Oh,
here. So today we have the left angle cross of identification.
okay.
Okay. So in the personality sun, conscious sun, it's gate 16, skills, which comes off the
Skills.
throat,
Okay.
collective
Skills.
surgery. Gate in the earth is gate 9, which is focus, which is down there.
Nine. Nine. Skills and
Mm-hmm.
nine. Skills and
Mm-hmm.
focus.
Skills in 9. Then on the unconscious, the design side, the sun
Uh-huh.
is in gate 63, doubt.
Yep.
And the earth is in gate 64, confusion.
Skills, focus, doubt, and confusion. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
where this goes.
Yeah. Okay. You ready?
Yes.
All right. So if you were born under the left angle cross of identification, this one's a little longer, but I think I like it. Okay.
Okay.
Your purpose is, oh, let me put my glasses on so I can read this better. Okay. Your purpose is to persuade people to invest in your plans, ideas, experiments, or programs. You excel at securing support for your cause because your passion and enthusiasm are contagious, making it hard for others not to get excited about your ideas. You have a way of connecting with individuals on an emotional level and appealing to their sense of purpose and desire to make a difference. You are constantly in pursuit of fresh concepts and are eager to delve into them. Your aspiration is to inspire others to do the same and discover elegant solutions to today's pressing human challenges. You encourage people to be open to trying new things. Your goal is to create a community of like minded individuals who are motivated to join forces and work towards a common goal. You understand that true progress is achieved through collaboration and collective effort. By rallying people around your cause, you create a supportive network where ideas can flourish and dreams can become reality. As a persuasive and enthusiastic advocate, you are committed to inspiring others to embrace new ideas, explore uncharted territories, and invest in the potential for positive change. Through your logical reasoning, charisma, and ability to communicate effectively, you invite others to join you on a journey towards innovative solutions and a brighter future.
Amen.
Amen. So, if you're born under that cross, whew, you have some influence.
Look out, world.
Get to it. People seeing your things your way. So, anyways,
But only use your power for good.
Of course. These are all for power for good. Absolutely. So, anyways, remember, Incarnation Cross, you're born under these energies, it's there within you. And if that is your cross and you don't necessarily identify with it, I guarantee you, either as you get older or as you just start to really live your design, meaning following your strategy and authority for your type, understanding how it is you're meant to really function in the world, you start living from that place, and you literally just start embodying that energy more. It actually starts to inform your whole life. It really does. It really does. I see examples of it all the time. So it's really,
I feel
really
like it's like a stamp. It's like stamped on you. It's just there.
Luckily, it's not like stamped right on your forehead.
It's just stamped in your forehead. You're just your Incarnation Cross.
Yeah. Oh, you're one of those. Okay.
It's got a QR code you can scan for more information.
Let me know if you need me. I'm over here. When you need this energy, I'm over here. Just place your order. I'll be there right away. Anyways, all right. Well, we'll just leave that at that. And as always, we are so grateful for everybody listening today to allow us to take this time to just shoot the shit with each other and maybe learn something new.
Yeah.
And
it's the highlight of my week.
I know, it gives Hali and I the I don't want to say the reason, but the reason to see each other weekly.
Yeah.
Because you know how it is this day and age. We have the ability, but what, like Christmas? we could FaceTime on Christmas. I was just like, oh yeah, and then we FaceTime. We didn't really have much to talk about. That was an awkward FaceTime. Because Hali had us on her big TV, so we were watching her and Presley sit on the couch, and it was like,
and the dog play with her toys.
Yeah, it's great. But it is a beautiful thing to be able to see each other so far apart. And the time of this recording, I'll be seeing you in 2 days, going out to Colorado. Excited. So anyways, but by the time you guys hear this, that's already happened. So
hello from the past.
Hello from the past. We're going to go create some new meaning. Yeah, here we go. Off the rails. All right, kid. I love you, and you have a great rest of your day, and we'll be talking with all of you soon. Bye for now.
Bye.
You made it all the way to the end of today's episode, so you must have liked what you heard. If you did, make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode, and perhaps leave us a good review. And if you know someone who wants to dig into all things human design with us, make sure you share the Human Design Hive podcast with them. We'd really appreciate it. Thanks for listening.